Hi, I'm BJ, and this is the Arcane Alienist Podcast. Hey, everybody. You ever feel like you're really late to the party and it sucks that you've missed a lot of good stuff? Yeah, I'm kind of there right now. I did not really pay much attention to Mörk Borg when it first came out. I've got I tend to be a little apprehensive is not the right word. Not a little slow sometimes to warm up to anything that's presented as sort of grim, dark. Uh, I think that comes from my sort of default setting for fantasy is heroic fantasy, to play characters who are, uh, if not heroic in nature, at least heroic in stature and kind of what they do. So D&D, you don't have to play a good character; you can play a neutral character. You can play an evil character, but that heroic fantasy where the characters you're playing are talented and even at first level, even if they're still fairly weak, that potential is there, right? So I'm not. Uh, I tend to not one the mud core kind of response to the power creep in sort of mainstream fantasy role playing. I don't really lean into that too much. Where we could all die at any moment with the roll of one die. That's it. It's over. Time to start over. That can be fun if you want to play that. I do enjoy that sometimes, but you kind of have to be in the mood for it. I don't think that's just not my default of where I want to start, unless I have a very specific kind of feel I want to go to. So if someone proposes a game like that and it's a good group, I'll join in. But it's not where I go, and it's not where I spend most of my time. Although that's Mudcore, I don't think that's the same as Grimdark. You can certainly do Grimdark without it being Mudcore. I think my thing with Grimdark is I've never really been opposed to dark fantasy, grim fantasy, things like that. I just feel like I don't know. For a long time, going back to when I was a teenager, there's always that edge lord who just joins the group, and that's all they want to make everything dark and edgy, right? Because they're working out something for themselves, and that's not inappropriate when you're 15, 16 years old, and maybe not when you're 20, 21 years old. But by the time you're 30, 35, maybe it's time to, hey, could we do some different genres? Can you know, sure we can do a horror themed campaign, sure we can do Cthulhu, something like that, but sometimes when we go back to D&D or a game like that, can we just kind of have a baseline heroic fantasy, whether it's low magic sword and sorcery or high magic, high fantasy, you know, that's kind of, I think, where D&D shines and kind of default there. So, a lot of my aversion to the grimdark is just not wanting the baggage that sometimes certain players will bring into those sorts of games because that's all they want to do and they just want to revel in it. And while you're there, of course, you should lean into the setting, you should lean into the theme, but it can get, some people can get a little excessive, and it's like, then you don't, are you really joking around? Are we having fun, or is this really you? Right? Sometimes you just don't want to know how sick and twisted your friends really are inside. Maybe is what I'm saying. I don't know. Anyway, well, by outwards appearance, Morkborg takes Grimdark and it cranks it up to 11. It's been referred to as the Swedish death metal of role playing games, and a lot of people that's a deal breaker. And I understand that because it kind of made me overlook it. Fine for people who want to play it, but I wasn't really just in a rush to check it out. I also know the presentation, which actually does a very, very good job of helping set the tone for the game, also bothers some people because it's not super well organized and not an efficient use of space. Sometimes can be a little hard or jarring on the eyes. I think that's by design. Um, all that is to say, I was wrong. I picked up Pirate Borg because people have said Pirate Borg is really good, and then talking with Carl Rodriguez a little bit about he likes Pirate Borg, and I thought, well, I'll get a copy of Pirate Borg, and we'll get around to playing Pirate Borg. And I read through Pirate Borg, skimmed it, I really liked it, and something just said, hey, I really ought to check out the original Mörk Borg just to kind of get a sense of where this other game came from. And man, I got it, and it just sucked me in. I think because it does dial the grimdark up to 11, and it is so brutally nihilistic and dark and horrific, you can't take it that seriously. The thing I worry about people doing, I don't think most people are going to do this. This is so over the top, uh, you know, dark that it circles back around to being kind of funny, dark and twisted, kind of funny, but the humor is there. Um, to me though, like Warhammer 40K is filled with humor because there's funny things. The orcs are a prime example, but even the Empire itself is a satire of fascist bureaucracies, right? And authoritarianism. But sometimes I don't know if all the people who play around in that universe get that we're making fun of that, right? And then you have really awesome people like Henry Cavill who play 40K, and I'd love to sit down and play 40K with him. That is to say, we're talking about Mörk Borg, though. Anyway, so rather than do a deep dive into the rules of Mörk Borg, which you can find anywhere through podcast, YouTube, blogs, website, the rules themselves are now free. The basic book, not in the death metal formatting that the hardcover is, but you can actually get a free, just black and white, organized like a normal rule set would, no art from the Mörk Borg's website. But I really find that the rules draw me in. The art kind of sets the tone, and like this would be kind of fun to play a little bit of a kind of mudcore. Am I going to live or die today game? Again, characters are fast to make, so if you lose one, 5 minutes you're back in the game, right? But then the more I started looking at the rules, thinking, okay, well let's make a character and let's see about how to maybe play this. I just really like the rules, and there are lots of supplements out there that they very much encourage other creators to take the rule set and expand on it, add to it, make material for it, and it just seems like a really cool creator community. And so yeah, I was wrong. I'm pleasantly surprised to kind of see what's here. So I have made a Mörk Borg character. That's what I'm going to do. Present for the rest of this episode. It doesn't get that dark, I don't think I need any trigger warnings, for what it is. It's dark fantasy, but it just character creation is not going to go anywhere too bad. But I found some solo play rules, and we'll do another episode on that, follow up, where I think I'm going to start doing some solo play and recording sort of what happens as I do the solo play. Not only the actual play itself as I'm sitting at the table, kind of going through the procedurals. Solo play uses a lot of procedurals and dice tables as oracles to sort of randomize things so that you can't, as GM and player, cheat in favor of yourself or be too hard on yourself. Either way. But I think I'm also going to try to record some segments in character to then describe what has happened afterwards. So I found these rules called the solitary defilement, which is a really cool. I mean, there's several solo play rules out there available, but anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. I've already, before I recorded this segment right now, I'd already recorded myself making the character. So I'm going to switch over to that segment, and then we will end with the character's origin story as told from his perspective. So probably just going to end there after that. So take a listen and give me a call, give me some feedback, drop a message, tell me what you think about that. Of course, I'm not the first person to do solo play on my podcast, so it may take me a little bit to get organized. But let me know what you think, and let me know what you think about the narration kind of first person in character segment. So the Pink Phantom will do that occasionally in his AD&D solo play. He'll get into character a little bit to summarize what's happened or to play out conversations between the characters. So let me switch over, and here we go. Okay, I'm going to make a Mörk Borg character. So let's see what our options are here. It's kind of the book is really interesting because the rules for making characters are kind of spread out a little bit. You got to flip back and forth. It's not a big book, so it's not that bad, but it's a little daunting if you haven't read the book through a couple times. So let's see what we get here. I'm just going to do this, try to roll this completely randomly because that's sort of the strength of Mörk Borg is things are random. So I am going to go ahead and go with the class option. You can make a character without a class, but I think most people go with the class. So let's see what we got. So there's 6 classes in the basic Mörk Borg rulebook. I roll a d6 to see what my class is, and I get a 3, which is an esoteric hermit. The stone of your cave is one with the stars, silence and perfection. Now the chaos of a fallen world disturbs your rituals, and the call of night grows blacker than your cavern's gloom. Irritating. All right, so that's what we've got. So it begins with 1d6 times 10 silver. So let me roll that. That is, and I only rolled a 1, so I only have 10 silver. So I'll put that on my character sheet. 10 silver. Blech. Okay. And D4 omens, hit points is toughness plus D4. I haven't rolled my abilities yet, but we'll get back to that. And it says your abilities, you are wise, roll 3d6 plus 2 for presence, but you are weak, roll 3d6 minus 2 for strength. Ordinary starting equipment plus 1 random scroll. Roll a d4 on the weapons table and a d2 on the armor table. You also begin with one of the following, and there's some special abilities that we'll roll on. Let's go ahead and roll for that since I've got the page open. So my special ability here is 4. Initiate of the Invisible College. Once per day, you may summon D2 scrolls, whose power can be used only once. Roll a D4. On a 1 to 2, the scroll is sacred. On a 3 to 4, the scroll is unclean. If the scrolls are not used before sunrise, they turn to ash. Okay, so let me make a note of that. Weapons, equipment, description, class. Oh, I should put the class on there, huh? Esoteric Hermit. So I'm going to put Esoteric Hermit and Initiate of the Invisible College. Now I'm going to go ahead and roll for my abilities. So the first ability is Strength. So I'll roll 3d6, and I'll have a minus 2 to this. 9, 10, 11, 12. And in Mörk Borg, you take the score, you convert it to the modifier from either a minus 3 up to a plus 3. 9 to 12 is in the middle, so that's a 0. So I got take a minus 12, minus 2 is 10, so 0. All right, no problem. Agility, straight up 3d6. No adjustment to this. And I got 8, 9, so also 0. Presence, here's the one I get a plus 2 bonus. Come on, let's get a good roll. Maybe I'll get a plus 1 here. 5, 6, 10, 11, plus 2, 13. Oh, okay, so yeah, plus 1. And last but not least, toughness. 5. All right. Oh, I got a 14 there. Wow. So a plus 1 on my toughness. All right. Not bad. Not bad at all. All right. So I'm an esoteric hermit. average strength and agility, but good toughness and good presence. When I use my powers every day, I'll use it's D4 plus my presence. So that'll be D4 plus 1. All right, not bad for how many times I can use a power. All right, next, what do I do next? We check the book. Okay, so we randomize our starting equipment as per usual. So the first column, you roll a d6 on a 1 to 2. It's nothing. Otherwise, you get 3, 4, 5, or 6. 5, I get a small wagon or one item above of your choice, which is a backpack, a sack. I think for simplicity's sake, I am going to just go with the backpack, which gives me enough space for 7 items. So I got a backpack, and then there's another column here for you roll a d12. For a 10, I get a bomb sealed in a bottle. It does d10 damage. Wow. And I get a second roll on the d12 here. 3, a small but vicious dog. D6 plus 2. Bite does a d4. D6 plus 2 hit points. Bite does a d4 damage. It only obeys me. Let's go ahead and roll his hit points. D6 plus 2, 4 plus 2, 6. Oh, tough, small but vicious dog. So let me record that. Okay, so then for my class, it said to roll a d4 on the weapons table and a d2 on the armor table. So a d4 on the weapons table, I get a 1. And a d2 on the armor table, you get a 1. Okay. Weapon. It's just a femur. And you're just using it's just a human femur. I guess it could be the femur of another animal, but you just use it as a club, so it does d4 damage. That's creepy. That's on brand for Mörk Borg. And my armor. No armor. Rolled a 1. No armor. Also, I guess on brand for an esoteric hermit. I neglected to roll my hit points. So I should go back and do that. So as I flip the page here, it tells me to roll hit points. So it's a D8 plus my toughness, which is plus 1, and I roll, oh wow, a 7. So that's good. I start with 8 hit points. Now it said I get 1 random scroll. So clean, but it's a D10 for each type of scroll, clean or unclean. So we're gonna have to randomize that. I'm gonna roll a D20. And we're going to treat 1 through 10 as an unclean scroll and 11 through 20 as a sacred scroll. We'll do it that way, so it's random. And I get a 5, so I've got an unclean scroll of Daemon of Capillaries. 1 creature suffocates for D6 rounds, losing D4 hit points per round. Ooh, that's cool. And now that I glance back at the description of the esoteric hermit, I was supposed to roll a D4 instead of a D8 for my hit points. So let me roll the D4 and just fix that. But I got a 3. So 3 plus 1 is going to be 4. So it would have been the same if I just halved my D8 result. Oh well, 4 hit points. And then I get to pick D4 omens. So let me roll another D4. 1 omen. Well, that's boring, but we'll stick with that and let's see what I got. So it lists 5 things omens can do. Deal maximum damage with 1 attack, or re-roll a dice roll, yours or someone else's, or lower damage dealt to you by D6, or neutralize a crit or fumble, or lower 1 test's DR by -4. So I think what the issue is, when I first glanced at this, I thought omens were kind of like abilities. You picked one, but I think you have the number of omens you rolled. In this case, I only have 1 until I've depleted them and get to roll again to recharge them. But I can use that omen to do any of those 5 things. So I've got 1 omen. And now we've got some optional tables that you can use there's an Eldritch Origin on the actual class table that I need to roll first. And I get a 4. It's just a D6. Eldritch Origin. Dying of plague in a Bergen Crypt hovel, you touch something from outside. So that's interesting. Some sort of contact with some outsider eldritch horror being, perhaps. And I guess I was no longer dying, and now I had a touch of magic about me. So let me put that down. Now returning to these other optional tables. Trauma, a bad childhood, hidden history, or a twisted fate attending your birth already shaped you. That is D20 roll, and you roll twice. And this is going to give you 2, looks like sort of personality traits. So I got a 13, I'm lazy, and a 19, wasteful. Oh, okay, interesting. Next option is D20, broken bodies. So let's see what we get here. 18. Chronic athlete's foot. Stinks. Then we have a bad habit. 11. Inveterate bug eater. Oh, this is great. And finally, we have troubling tales, which gives you a little more of an origin. It says, if you're the whole group you can roll once for an entire group, and everybody can share a common origin, or each person can roll separately, or the GM can quickly roll this to give a history to a seemingly mundane character. All right, but let's see. Roll D20 or throw a knife at this page to figure it out. We'll roll the D20. 15. Cursed to share the nightmares of others, you sleep far, far away. Well, that may explain why he's a hermit, huh? Finally, we're gonna name this character. All right, so you roll you roll a D6 and a D8. The D6 tells you which list to pick from, and the D8 tells you which name on that list. So let's just roll here. This is 2 and 1. So I go to the second group. The first name is Eldar, Eldar. So that is this character's name. Okay, let's see if we can put this all together into a coherent story. So this character's name is Eldar Rottentoe, a reference to his seemingly incurable and quite smelly case of athlete's feet. So what we say is, if you're familiar with, even if you're not familiar with Mörk Borg, this is an implied world. It's a small island or continent with different areas. And I rolled that he was dying of the plague in a hovel in the Bergen Crypt, which is this mountain range on the far western side of the map. It's described as ice peaked mountains with lots of catacombs inside, and it's also the home of She, one of the two-headed basilisks, who is sort of the mother of. I kind of implied as maybe kind of the mother of all things, or at least, is this the one of the two basilisks that sort of dominate the setting here. So that seems like a dangerous place. Nothing in the book really says otherwise that people live there, although they might. There's no reason to think they wouldn't. Again, this is a setting that you can kind of make very little is filled in, and you can fill in the blanks as you see fit and make it what you want. But I'm also looking at the base of the Bergen Crypt is this this place called the Valley of the Unfortunate Undead. And the lore there is that you can go there. They're undead. There are lots of graves, but the entire atmosphere sort of puts you in an extreme melancholy and just saps the life out of you. And so many of the people, because Mörk Borg is such a dismal, nihilistic setting, they just kind of go there and succumb to death. So here's the story I think I'm going to say for Eldar and how he came to be an esoteric hermit. He was cursed from birth to share the nightmares of others who were sleeping nearby. And just over a lifetime of this terrible curse that he was born with, it finally just couldn't take it anymore, and he journeyed to the valley of the unfortunate undead to just, meet his demise. Somewhere along the way, though, he was infected with plague. He wandered through the somehow in a haze managed to wander to the far side of the valley and into the Bergen Crypt, where he just found a little hovel, dying of the plague, to lay down and die. But he was, as he lay there waiting to die, he was somehow contacted by some eldritch thing from the other side, and it cured his plague, although leaving him with this chronic athlete's foot. The smelly feet, but imparted to him this esoteric arcane knowledge. So that sounds a little bit like sort of like a warlock, maybe from modern D&D. Since he was there in the near the Valley of Unfortunate Undead, I'm sure he picked up that femur that he's now using as a club. I imagine he probably also uses it as sort of an implement. You don't need an implement to use your powers, but he probably does for dramatic effect. He currently has one scroll that he has access to, the Daemon of Capillaries. That's always something he's got, but he can summon 2 more scrolls every day, and they will dissipate if he doesn't use them, and he can summon 2 more. So that adds a little bit of randomness there. So yeah, I would say that's his backstory. He is lazy, wasteful. He also has a bad habit of eating bugs. So imagine this is a kind of a pretty off-putting, disgusting man with pock marks and still scars and remnants of someone who would have survived a plague. And is probably just kind of gross to be around, I would think. And so his name is Eldar. I gave him the epithet Rottentoe to use as a surname. And he walks around and he's got a small vicious dog that only is obedient to him. It's not, it's a small vicious, so it's not going to win any major battles for him, but it is there and can be deployed, I guess, to catch rats and alert him as he's trying to sleep, so that if anybody tries to bunk down too close, he won't be subjected to any bad dreams they have in his sleep. So that's Eldar Rottentoe. That's a pretty interesting character. I might like to play him in a game if I do some solo Mörk Borg. We'll start with this character and see how far he gets. I do have some solo rules that I found online for how to play Mörk Borg. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, the only equipment he's got a backpack. He's got a small bomb and a glass vial. His femur is his weapon, and his little dog. I need to name his dog. Let's name his dog. Why don't we roll for another random name on the table and see what we get for his dog's name? That is 6, and the first name on list number 6, Urm. 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 You think Urm is a male or female dog? Give me a call. We'll see if we get enough people responding with either a justification of why it should be male or female, or maybe just on sheer majority wins. Is Urm, his little dog, is that a male dog or a female dog? And I'm going to imagine as a small vicious dog, it's probably got just as bad of an attitude as he does, and it probably is kind of messy and scruffy. And I'm getting a sort of a vision of a meaner version of Dogpool from Deadpool and Wolverine. Instead of a sweet little one, an actual vicious one. So yeah, let me know what you think about Tell me a little more about what you guys think should be like as his Eldar Rottentoe's dog. Yeah, adding some music to this last segment where I narrate from the character's perspective, and I'll put the required link in the. This is stock music, so I'll put the required link in the show description. But this is an ambient texture soundtrack created by someone named Romulus Andry. I got it from www.pond5.com. It's called Greed, Terror, Horror, Thrilling. It's an ambient texture soundtrack. So, but I wanted to note that here as well. So I will play this, and when this is over, then we'll go to our normal outro, and that'll be it. How am I even still alive? Or am I alive? Maybe I'm dead and I just haven't realized it. Maybe my body is rotting here in this hovel and my soul just doesn't know how to move on. But my body was already rotting when I laid down here to die. How did I even make it this far? The valley should have taken me. They said the air, the soil, and the valley, it will take you. But I walked from one end to the other, welcoming death in whatever form it would take. Anything to avoid the rotting agony the plague had in store for me. But in the end, all I found was this pathetic shack and time. Time for the plague to take its course. The pain. So much pain now. How do I even have enough blood in me left to bleed? I'm so tired. Each time I drift off, I think it'll be the end, but I wake up again. Sometimes I look up at these slats above me, and I think that must be the lid of my coffin. But no, it's just the roof. And it seeps water the way my flesh seeps blood. She take me, the pain. I'm drifting off. Maybe for good this time. I'm somewhere else. I have to be. The walls, the floor, the basilisk dam roof, they look the same, but something is different. The pain is gone. I feel no pain. I feel nothing. No heat or cold. No movement of the air. Am I finally dead? Am I? I'm not alone. Something is here. I can't see it, I can't hear it or feel it, but I know it's here. It's watching me. It is something other. I cannot see or hear it, but I can tell it reaches out to me. This is madness. What does it want? I am awake. I'm back in the hovel. I am tired, but there's still no pain. There's no bleeding. My skin, my body is healed, scarred, but healed. How did this happen? I must sleep. For several nights, how many I'm not sure, the other comes to me in my dreams. It whispers esoteric knowledge. It offers gifts. I awake with bizarre runes and sigils in my mind's eye. What the other wants in return for this, I cannot say, but I must leave this place. I have to wonder what remains of this doomed world and find out. Perhaps I'll find my own doom first. Or maybe the seventh misery will come and take all of us. So farewell to this hovel, my coffin, my place of death, my place of birth. Dead gods, but I need a bath. I smell awful. Is that up ahead? Is that a dog gnawing on that large bone? Thanks for listening to the Arcane Alienist podcast. The music you're hearing is Come and Get It by Scott Holmes Music. The cover art is by Dave Bone. Be sure to check out his stuff at ironseer.com. You can leave me a message. I have my SpeakPipe account linked to the show description. You can also send me an email at arcane.alienist@gmail.com. Just embed a voice memo, or I'll just read the text to your email during a future episode. Once again, thanks so much for listening.